This section introduces Hieronymus Cock, one of the most influential publishers and print dealers of the 16th century. Born in Antwerp, Belgium in 1518, Cock established himself as a central figure in Renaissance art publication. Antwerp was a thriving commercial and cultural center in 16th century Europe, providing the perfect environment for Cock's publishing venture. In 1548, Cock founded the publishing house at the Four Winds, which became the first major dedicated print publishing enterprise in Northern Europe. While Hieronymus Cock was trained as an engraver and created some plates himself, his greatest impact came through his publishing activities. Throughout his career from 1548 until his death in 1570, Cock revolutionized the art market by making prints widely available and establishing new artistic standards across Europe. In 1548, Hieronymus Cock made a pivotal decision for the history of printmaking by establishing his publishing house in Antwerp. Antwerp, strategically positioned in Northern Europe, was then one of the most prosperous commercial centers of the continent. Cock's selection of this location was deliberate and visionary. This establishment, named At the Four Winds, was the first significant print publishing enterprise in Northern Europe. Cock positioned his business at the intersection of major trade routes. The name At the Four Winds was rich with symbolism. It represented Cock's ambitious vision to distribute his printed works in all four cardinal directions across Europe. The founding of At the Four Winds had a profound impact on European art. It created an international market for prints and established a business model that would be followed by publishers for generations. Hieronymus Cock revolutionized printmaking through his collaborations with the finest artists of his time. His most significant partnership was with Pieter Bruegel the Elder. Cock transformed Bruegel's detailed drawings into widely distributed prints. This collaboration process involved taking original drawings and converting them into prints that could be distributed across Europe. Beyond Bruegel, Cock collaborated with numerous other master artists of his era. Frans Floris was a Flemish artist whose mythological and historical compositions gained a wider audience through Cock's prints. Martin van Heemskerk was a Dutch Mannerist painter whose Roman ruins and biblical scenes were published by Cock. Through these strategic collaborations, Cock elevated printmaking from mere reproduction to an art form in its own right. These partnerships would prove instrumental in establishing printmaking as an important medium for artistic expression. Hieronymus Cock revolutionized printmaking through significant technical innovations, particularly in copperplate engraving and etching. To understand Cock's impact, we must examine the evolution from earlier woodcut methods to his refined copper techniques. Before Cock, woodcuts dominated printmaking. This relief technique involved carving away wood, leaving raised areas to receive ink. While effective, woodcuts had limitations in detail and tonal range. Cock championed copperplate techniques with revolutionary results. These intaglio methods involved incising lines into copper plates, allowing for much finer details and subtle gradations of tone. Let's examine the copper plate process that Cock refined at his print shop at the Four Winds. The copper engraving process begins with a polished copper plate. The design is either drawn directly or transferred onto the plate. A skilled engraver then cuts lines directly into the metal using a baren or graver. Once engraved, the plate is inked, with the surface wiped clean, leaving ink only in the recessed lines. Dampened paper is placed over the plate and run through a press, transferring the ink from the recessed lines to create the print. While engraving required specialized skill, Cock also promoted the etching technique, which offered different artistic possibilities. In etching, the copper plate is covered with an acid-resistant ground. The artist draws through this ground with a needle, exposing the copper below. The plate is then immersed in acid, which bites into the exposed lines. After the acid bath, the ground is removed and the plate is inked and printed like an engraving. Etching produced more fluid, painterly lines than engraving and allowed artists to draw directly without requiring an engraver's specialized skills. These innovations by Cock had profound impacts on the art world. Cock's techniques allowed for unprecedented detail and tonal range. This made possible more accurate reproduction of paintings, drawings, and architectural designs. Artists could now showcase their technical skill through intricate copper plate work. Through Cock's innovations, printmaking was elevated as an art form in its own right. The medium allowed for broader artistic expression and helped establish Antwerp as a center of European printmaking. Cock's technical innovations transformed what was possible in printed images, setting new standards for quality and artistic expression in European printmaking. Hieronymus Cock made significant contributions to architectural printmaking, documenting classical structures with unprecedented detail and accuracy. His groundbreaking series from 1551, Praecipua aliquot Romanae Antiquitatis Ruinarum, featured detailed engravings of Roman ruins. These prints combined archaeological accuracy with artistic composition, showing ancient structures like the Colosseum with both scientific precision and aesthetic sensibility. The series had a profound influence on Renaissance architects across Europe, who used these prints as reference materials. Cock's meticulous engravings enabled architects to study classical proportions and details, even if they could not travel to Rome. This led to new building designs across Europe that incorporated Roman elements, fundamentally shaping Renaissance architecture. Beyond architecture, Cock was a pioneer in establishing landscape as a legitimate artistic genre. Before his time, landscapes mainly served as backgrounds for religious or mythological scenes. Cock's publications elevated landscapes to independent subjects. Cock's architectural and landscape prints established new standards for both documentation and artistic expression, influencing generations of artists. Before Hieronymus Cock's innovation in print publishing, art was primarily a luxury for the privileged elite. Original paintings were expensive, often commissioned by nobility or wealthy merchants, and displayed exclusively in palaces, churches, and grand private homes. Hieronymus Cock's publishing house at the Four Winds revolutionized this paradigm by mass-producing affordable prints. For the first time, middle-class citizens could afford to own reproductions of famous artworks. Cock's prints spread Renaissance and Mannerist aesthetics from Antwerp throughout Europe, reaching Paris, London, Rome, and beyond. The cultural impact was profound. Middle-class homes could now display prints of masterpieces, creating a shared visual culture across Europe. Prints allowed ordinary citizens to decorate their homes with sophisticated imagery, transforming the relationship between art and society. By bringing art into homes that could never afford original paintings, Hieronymus Cock fundamentally changed who could participate in art appreciation, creating a more inclusive visual culture. Hieronymus Cock revolutionized the art world with an innovative business model that transformed how art was commercialized in the 16th century. Cock created a system that functioned like a modern publishing house, coordinating artists, engravers, printers, and distributors in a sophisticated production network. One of Cock's key innovations was securing privileges from authorities, essentially early copyright protections that prevented others from copying his prints without permission. Cock developed sophisticated marketing strategies that were ahead of his time. He created detailed catalogs of his print offerings, branded his publishing house, and established international distribution networks to reach art collectors across Europe. Cock's business approach had a profound influence on future generations of art dealers and publishers. His systematic approach to art commercialization created a model that evolved into modern publishing houses, galleries, and art markets. By transforming art from exclusive commissions into commercially available products, Cock not only democratized access to art, but created business practices that continue to influence the art market today. In an age before photography, Hieronymus Cock's prints served a crucial documentary function. Many original paintings and drawings from masters of the Renaissance have been destroyed, damaged, or lost to time. Cock's prints are now our only visual record of numerous lost masterpieces from great Renaissance artists. Through Cock's prints, Michelangelo's drawings were widely circulated. Many of these designs would otherwise have been lost or remained unseen. Cock also documented ancient Roman ruins that have since further deteriorated or been completely demolished. Cock's methodical approach to documentation involved working closely with artists who copied the original masterpieces. The historical significance of these documentary prints extends far beyond mere reproduction. Without Cock's dedication to documenting these masterpieces, our understanding of Renaissance art would be considerably diminished. When Hieronymus Cock died in 1570, his legacy was far from complete. His widow, Volkskin Dierix, continued running their print publishing business at the Four Winds for another 30 years. Under her management, the studio maintained its reputation, preserved Cock's artistic vision, and continued publishing influential prints that shaped European art. Cock's publishing model was widely emulated throughout Europe, particularly in the Netherlands. His innovative approach included collaboration with multiple artists, standardized printing methods, and commercial distribution networks. This widespread adoption of Cock's methods helped create a golden age of printmaking in Europe. Prints became accessible to the growing middle class, artistic styles spread more easily across borders, masterworks were preserved through reproduction, and specialized print techniques continued to develop. Today, modern art historians recognize Hieronymus Cock as a pivotal figure in the development of European print culture. His entrepreneurial vision shaped art markets. He bridged the gap between Renaissance artists and the broader public, advocated for artists' rights through attribution, and is now the subject of major exhibitions in museums worldwide. The prints of Hieronymus Cock continue to be treasured in major museums around the world. His works form significant collections at prestigious institutions. In recent years, Cock's work has received renewed scholarly attention. The landmark exhibition, Hieronymus Cock, The Renaissance in Print in 2013, showcased over 160 prints from his publishing house at venues in Leuven and Paris. Today, Cock's prints are valued not only for their artistic quality, but also for their historical significance. Many paintings from the Renaissance period are now lost, with Cock's prints providing the only surviving record of these works. Several of Cock's most famous prints can be found in specific collections. His landscapes after Bruegel are in the Royal Library of Belgium, while his architectural prints of Roman ruins are highlights of the Rijksmuseum's collection. Modern scholarship continues to explore Cock's prints through conservation, technical analysis, and digitization efforts. These studies reveal the sophistication of his printing techniques and business practices. Hieronymus Cock's revolutionary approach to printmaking and publishing continues to influence our understanding of Renaissance art and visual culture. 5 centuries later, his prints remain essential documents of artistic exchange and innovation, accessible to scholars and the public in collections around the world.